Hudson Plumbing, Elliott, Keaton. How you guys doing today?
Good. Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks for having us on.
No problem.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Excited.
Different than Martinsville.
This is different. This is cool though. Being downtown, we don't come downtown very often, so when we do, it's a treat.
Do you guys ever do many jobs downtown or no?
I would say we get work really through in this area through like old existing customers.
Right.
I don't think we really are trying to really drive up here other than with those existing clients.
Well, it'd be an hour long too. That would be added to your guys',
Yeah, I mean with the new highway, it helps as far as like working downtown. There's maybe couple times a year, but in the greater Indianapolis area, like north side, south side, now that we do a decent amount of work, but not as far as like downtown Indy.
Where are most of your service areas that you try to service?
You want to talk to?
Yeah, we've got two kind of two markets, I would say, where we do the bulk of our work.
Right.
It's going to be Martinsville, obviously. That's where we've been targeting since we started service, and then Bloomington as well. And when I say Bloomington, what I really mean is Bloomington, Bedford, Ellettsville, that whole area. But yeah, we do lots of work in Martinsville and Bloomington.
And to go off of that, what do you guys do in terms of service? What does Hudson do?
Sure. So we just recently, mid last year, we no longer do new construction and commercial from like ground up.
Right.
So obviously we were doing new homes, we were doing some restaurants, and we've always wanted to be just like a service company. So we do general calls. So you come home one day and you don't have hot water, you have a clog, anything inside the home, a leak. We do a lot of jobs like that, a lot of replacements. And then we also do, excavation. And I would say and we'll do some remodels as well, some smaller remodels where, you got a tub and shower that's, 30 years old and you're ready to upgrade. We do a lot of that as well.
And you are obviously the son of Hudson Plumbing.
Yes.
What is your dad in Florida right now, just hanging out on the beach, or what's he got going on?
So no, his RVing season is over. So
Okay.
he's definitely still involved with the company. He's behind the scenes, and it's something we talk about a lot. Like, what does he want going forward? What's his role going to be?
Right.
So no, he's still there. He's involved. There's times during the day that we'll call him and we'll get his opinion or his advice, or maybe it's something we've not seen before. So we kind of use him in that way.
Consultant.
Yeah, he really is. And what the future looks like, though, we still don't know.
Right.
It changes from time to time, but he is still around, just not involved in the day to day.
And you have an interesting story, Keaton. We were talking before the show of you didn't actually just come into this business to work for your dad immediately.
Right.
You were a teacher.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So yeah.
What made the switch? How'd that work?
So let me go a little bit back. I actually started working, for Dad when I was 10 years old in the summers. Like kids get out of school, they have a job. So that's what I did. I worked for Dad all the way up until I was 18 and hated it. I did not like it. A lot of that was we just did new construction.
Okay.
So a new construction job, you get there and you're there all day long. I like to move around and
Right.
meet different people because we didn't do service back in the day. So I had no intention that when I graduated high school to continue that.
Right.
I just didn't like what what he did. So yeah, I went to school to be a teacher and I wanted to coach as well. That was I wanted to do both those things. And I went through 6 years of school because I worked a lot. And graduated college. I took a job actually in Indianapolis at a school here in Indy, but all the while, I was kind of itching to do something different. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I literally just went over to Dad's house one day, as I would normally do, and we started talking, and it was just kind of like a moment, honestly, where a light bulb went off, and I'm like, what about we give this another try?
Yep.
Because at that time we were doing service, so it was something very different, and I was more interested because I love talking with people and meeting new people and everything. But he couldn't get me in for like 6 months.
That's good stuff.
So I took a teaching job all the while knowing that this was going to be it as far as teaching. So it was kind of bittersweet because
Right.
I did really enjoy, being with the kids and coaching and everything. But I knew that when this semester ended, I was going to go work for Dad. So, I did that, and I started in 2017, and it was, it was challenging, exciting. Yeah, there was a lot going on, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love how your dad you wanted the job, even though your son, he said, "Nah, we're not hiring for another 6 months."
Yeah.
So go do something else. I can't bring you on right now.
Right.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that, son.
Yeah, he wasn't
good stuff.
gonna bring me on just because I wanted to, and we had
Because
to
you're a
wait
son.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because we had to wait for the right time. I mean, it just wouldn't have made sense to bring me on and just so I can just to get a job or whatnot. So yeah, I had to. It was about 6 months. I had to go, kind of knowing what was gonna happen, and yeah. So it was kind of interesting how I got started into it.
How was the first year?
So the first year was intimidating, and here's the reason why. It wasn't because I was working with my dad. It was because my experience as a kid.
Right.
Because what he did to me was like, I could never do that.
Right.
Like, I can't do, working with grown men, working with contractors. And I didn't know about plumbing either. So when you don't know about plumbing, it's very intimidating.
That'd be very intimidating.
So when I first started, I think we had maybe 5 employees back then. So I was at the very bottom.
Right.
And I literally had to start from scratch. So that made it challenging, but also very interesting. And like I said, when I say the word intimidating, because when I first started, it was always to get to where we're at kind of right now, where
Right.
I was eventually someday, we didn't know the time,
Managing.
was going to basically, take over. So there was some pressure there.
Right.
Because, I didn't know a lot. We had guys that had a lot more experience and a lot more time. So
Big shoes to fill.
yeah, it was a big shoes to fill. Yeah, because we had a great foundation, and and it's and I know you work with your dad.
Yep.
So it's challenging at times. Like there was
Screaming matches.
yeah, and it's
You think you know it all.
because another employee maybe can't talk the same way I can to my dad, and I can. So
yes, that's a fact.
and this wasn't the first year. This was many years, and even
Still to this day, I'm
still
screaming
to
at
this
my dad.
still to this day, we can butt heads. It looks a little different maybe than it
Right.
did in the past. So yeah, the first year was good and challenging all at the same time, and just. I remember one conversation he had asked an employee, like, how's Keaton doing? And and he was like, he's not getting it. He's not getting it because the plumbing side.
Lay him off.
Yeah, because I'm somebody who I wouldn't say I'm just the best at working with my hands. That's just-
I'm
not geared that way.
Me either.
So to learn something that is solely, a lot of it's based on working with your hands, it's very mechanical. That was a whole nother side of it.
For sure.
That I had to learn. But it's good though.
Right. Well, you
Yeah.
want to know the business in and out. Even from a managing and sales side, you still have to understand the concept of how the job could go.
Yeah.
In terms of quoting or what could go wrong, Oh
yeah. It's very multifaceted and
Right.
we're very different than we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But yeah, the first year I would say, man, to sum it up, it was intimidating, challenging, but it was fun, and you kind of got to see like what it takes to do what he
run
did.
a business.
Yeah.
Right. Elliott, what about you? How'd you get into the Hudson Plumbing game?
Yeah, mine's also a unique story. I think everybody's is. So I've actually known Keaton since high school.
ahead.
Yeah, so mine's interesting story. I've known Keaton since high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Both went to Eminence, right?
Yeah, we
Okay.
both grew up in Eminence, really small town. My graduating class, and I think yours as well, was probably like 40, 50 people.
Right. Eminence is very small.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a long time, but we kind of didn't stay in close touch, I'd say, right after graduating, because I went off to college.
Right.
I went to school in Missouri for journalism, and I actually went to several colleges from there until I graduated. But anyway, I was active duty Air Force for 4 years, and one day towards the end of me getting close to getting out of the Air Force, Keaton sent me this text of this building. It's the building we're in now, but I remember driving through Martinsville as a kid and just like loving that building. There's something charming about this small town brick building right there. And anyway, he sent me that text and it planted the seed. So I reached out to him, or maybe I reached out to Dean first and kind of let him know, like, listen, if you're wanting to make moves, I'm interested. And at the time, I was reading a lot of business books and marketing books and entrepreneurship books. And so I was kind of on fire for it and just wanting an outlet to exercise that and get creative. And I think it enticed Dean a little bit, but he actually had already had the idea of possibly bringing somebody on to do something like that. So it was really good timing, and
here's why: because he did everything himself.
Right.
Yeah.
So there, our marketing was just the little that he would know, and he just did what he could. So we were in desperate need of things like software and just all the things that he does now behind the scenes. We didn't have back then.
Oh, that's a job, man. Software. And let's fast forward. What kind of marketing are you doing, Elliott? for Hudson? I know you're very diversified.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So I joined 3 years ago, right? And at the time, Dean Hudson, the owner, was the operating system for the whole company.
Right.
He did the marketing, which was I'd say minimal at the time. I mean, he did the day-to-day. He was the service manager. He did the accounting with his
ordering
wife.
parts. Yeah.
Ordering parts.
Invoicing.
So I stepped into that world on my first day, and this was me after I'd already graduated college, already did 4 years of the Air Force. I was able to work in the industry in like software and journalism, and I thought that was always going to be kind of what I did.
Right.
I thought I was going to be a software guy or just in media in general. And so I jumped on with Hudson Plumbing 3 years ago, and there was no operating system outside of Dean Hudson. He answered the phones. He just kind of did everything. And that was also really intimidating for me because I was fresh out of college. You know, I maybe thought I knew a thing or two, but this was like real world, real dollars, real customers calling, and it was very intimidating.
Could really mess up.
Yeah. So fast forward 3 years, it's actually been quite a bit of a challenge to convince the ownership that marketing advertising is worth investing in.
Right.
And it took a while to get there. So now here we are 3 years later, 2023, and this is our first year where we've actually committed to a budget of, I think we're shooting for like 7% right now. We're going to be spending on marketing and advertising. And it's really exciting for me because I've got to meet with radio people, magazine people, direct mail people. And I mean, Sam, you and I touch base, and here we are for this. So we're investing in video content as well. But we're kind of trying to throw things out there, experiment with them, track it, and see what works, what doesn't.
That's the best way to do it. Just test.
Exactly.
Test it all.
Yeah.
Now, another one. So, okay, you guys got the marketing hot and heavy. How important is the company culture at Hudson? Because you got a lot of guys.
Yeah.
You know, you want to make that morale as happy as you can. How do you do that? What do you do?
Yeah, it's tough. It's also fun. I mean, it's very, very rewarding.
Do a ton of meetings. And I feel like that's really good.
Yeah.
You know, doing that prep. And then I assume you guys do Christmas parties, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, so our culture, it's pretty interesting. And Keaton, maybe you can jump in at any point as well. But we do try to keep things really, really light. And really what I mean by that is we're all kind of bought into what we do for sure. We are plumbers. We do protect the health of the nation, as the saying goes. If you're in this industry, you've seen that poster, plumbers protect the health of the nation. And, so we live that every day, but we kind of take it a step further at Hudson Plumbing in that we have these weekly meetings where we come together and one by one, somebody from the company will step up and literally voice what their personal goal in their life is to the rest of us.
Really?
And then at the end of that, we'll all stand up and we kind of, we chant that we're all in. And what we mean when we say we're all in is we're all in for our coworkers achieving their goals within a realistic timeline. And so to do that, we've also got to have kind of like a training culture.
Right.
So we can make sure the company's kind of hitting all of these KPIs so that we can continue to grow.
KPI, what is that?
The key performance indicator.
Got it.
So it's basically how we measure any change we want to implement. We've got a certain KPI we'll put in place.
Right.
Say, for example, for training, to build a training culture, we now meet a minimum of 3 to 4 times a week. So that KPI, we want to meet 3 to 4 times a week.
I can jump in on the culture. So culture, as we all know, is so important, but it's so delicate.
Right.
And it's hard you never arrive. You never just are, hey, we've got the perfect culture.
Right.
You're always tweaking it and changing it.
Yep.
And what we found is we try to get a healthy balance between, man, we have fun. We really do. We have fun in the shop. We razz the guys a little bit. We laugh a lot. I mean, even over Christmas, it's pretty neat to see grown men making gingerbread houses.
Yes, that was a good post. That was awesome.
And it was a blast. And one of our other leadership members, who's back at the shop, Kedge, he is great at facilitating training, and he comes up with all the ideas.
Right.
But I think we're even talking about maybe getting an Xbox. So the guys can come in the morning. If they come in at 20 till, they're over there playing games.
Right.
And it's just, we want to create an environment that is welcoming. People want to work there.
Right.
I mean, no matter, you got to provide something where guys want to get up and go to work.
Correct.
So we preach, hey, when you're here, yes, our job is very serious. We want to have fun. But when you go home, we want you to focus on your family.
Right.
We want you to kind of forget about where you work. But then when you come in the next day, hey, we got to hit it.
Yep.
So like I said, it's very delicate, and we're constantly trying to improve it. We're constantly researching what other companies are doing. Hey, does this work? And it's kind of an ongoing process that I don't think you ever really arrive, but you're always striving just to make a really fun place that people want to come in and work.
Right.
I mean, that's got to be the goal. Everybody wants to enjoy what they do.
Right.
And so that's our goal. And like I said, we're not perfect at it, but we're trying to be really creative and do some things that other companies aren't doing.
And now when we're talking about your guys, when you guys do hire, what characteristics, what characteristics do you guys look for in terms of a new person you add onto the team?
Yeah. So why don't you talk about before we get to that point, and I'll talk about like during the actual interview.
Yeah, we've come a long way as far as recruiting goes.
Are you guys hiring as well? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. We're always hiring. We're always looking. We're hiring. We're putting a big focus on hiring right now because we're a growing company.
Right.
We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. We are making moves and we need to staff up for it.
But if you're doing all this marketing too.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, even a lot of our marketing dollars right now are being spent on recruiting campaigns.
Good stuff.
I'd say a big chunk of actually this year's budget's being spent on recruiting. But yeah, as far as recruiting goes, we've come a long way. We used to, no kidding, if you came into the building for an interview and you had a plumbing license,
You're in.
You're in. You could start Monday.
Same day, sometime like
Same day. Hey, we got a job over here. Can you go knock that out for us?
Yeah. We'd even offer the job on the spot,
awesome.
which is very unprofessional. It bid us several times.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, I will actually recruit, but I'll put a personal touch on it. I will personally reach out through my personal Facebook to apprentices, journeyman plumbers that are in certain areas that we're targeting, and we need to staff up in that area. So I'll reach out to them. And really, the first thing we're looking for is, of course, are you qualified? Do you have the skills we're looking for to day one be able to hit the ground running? Maybe you're not by yourself. Maybe you're not running your own truck, but you can step in as a helper, help us get the job done. So that's the first screening process that we do as far as recruiting. The second thing is when you come in for an interview, face-to-face interview with the management team, the leadership team, we're looking for characteristics that align with our core values. So we've got 4 core values. They're integrity,
trusted, professional, integrity, and team.
That's right. Yeah. So if you can align with those, you've got a good shot. And I'll let Keaton kind of take it from there, see what he's looking for.
Yeah. So I think it's important when you're looking for a guy, you're wanting to invite them along with the story that you're telling. You want
family owned.
Yeah, you want them to be a part of something, and you want to show them that, hey, you can help us get to this point. Like we need you.
Right.
You know, my dad always says, and I literally say this in every interview. You know, the goal of bringing somebody on board is for the company to be able to make you a better, man or woman, wife, husband, brother, sister, and for you to be able to make us a better company. If both those things can't happen, it's not a good fit.
Exactly.
So we want to make sure that we're inviting you along on our story, and we want you to feel like you can play a big part in that because you can.
Right.
Whoever it is. I mean, because we're still small enough to where, man, the people that we bring on are very important, and we want them to want a career. We don't really offer jobs; we offer a career.
Yeah.
And so when you talk like that, and that is your lingo, it really can draw somebody in. That we want you to really take this serious. We're inviting you along in our story, but we also realize that your family, your life matters, and we don't want you to think you're another number, though numbers are important.
Right.
But again, I think it's inviting somebody along on our story, and hey, can you buy into what we're doing? Yeah, and that's a lot of people love that kind of deep conversation.
Right.
So yeah, we've fine tuned it. I mean, how we did interviews maybe 3-4 months ago, they're just different. Like I said, we're always changing things to try to make it better.
And let me piggyback off that real quick. So one of the things we've started to ask our candidates when they come in, or we started to communicate with them, is the concept of goals. So one of the things we talk about is, are you somebody that can bear the burden of your coworkers' personal goals?
Exactly.
Like, can you bear that weight and know that you're joining a team, so you're part of this ecosystem here, and it's your responsibility to be all in and help your teammate next to you achieve their goals, because they're going to do it for you. We need to know you're somebody who's going to do it for the collective team as well.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like he said, we literally will get up in the mornings and we will share your goal. Like,
that was what the point I want to talk. That's you don't hear that.
Well, I mean, it may literally be like, hey, I want to buy like I may be the first one in my family to buy a house. That's what I want to do. And we will literally get up and chant and like, hey, we got your back. We want to help you get there.
Right.
And again, that just kind of goes in the culture. We didn't always used to do that. Like I said, we want to create an environment that people want to work, and you got to make people feel like they're going to be a part of something.
Exactly.
This train, it takes a lot of moving parts to get it to go down the tracks, and we all have a part to play.
Exactly.
Yeah, standards are high, so we got to make sure you are committed, you are all in, like we say.
That allows for better company culture, better morale too.
Yeah.
When you're filtering guys left and right and you have higher turnover, and that's just tough. It makes it harder.
Yeah. Yeah, we want our guys to know we're not just hiring anybody. We're not just going to partner you with anybody who doesn't actually have the skill at the end of the day. It's somebody who really is going to come along, encourage you, and be a help on the job and even outside of the job.
Well, let's pivot. Well, I'm curious too. What is this Hydro Force?
Yeah.
What is that?
I can feel this one. So we do a lot of excavation, and over the years, as a company, you always have to sub out certain jobs, skills that you don't do. It's just it's normal. You'll never be able to avoid that completely. But ideally, we would like to get to the point where we hire other contractors as few as possible. We do it all in house. And one of those things we're really excited about, it goes by a couple names, but it's hydro excavation is what it actually is. Right. The name we're going to be naming it is Hydro Force. Interesting. It's a separate company through Hudson Plumbing. It's a way to, So now I will say, we've been in this process of starting this company, Hydro Force, which is hydro excavation, for months now, and we had no idea how hard it would be. We've learned we have to send a guy to school to get a Class A, which is the same as a semi driver. Right. So, you can say we bit off more we can chew in the beginning, but hey, that's part of it. It's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot about the process, and we're I would say nearing the end. We had to go buy the equipment. We had to buy a special truck for it, and we'll be able to use it ourselves, but also people who also need it will be able to call us and hire us because there's a big need for it, especially where we're at. There's not a lot of companies that offer that. Right. That's one of the companies that we're close to launching. And we have another one as well that we're gonna another service. Instead of hiring it out, we can do it ourselves. Right. So, but yeah, it's gonna be called Hydro Force. We don't really know how it's gonna go. Yeah. We're excited for it. It's a big need, and but the process of becoming legal with it, and the lawyers and all that stuff, it's a lot. It's a big learning process
while you're still managing Hudson Plumbing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's basically just I'm gonna try to get the word right. Subsidiary. I always struggle with that word. Subsidiary of Hudson Plumbing. Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Words are tough.
They are tough.
Company morale, always looking for good characteristics in hiring. I mean, so you guys are 30 years, family owned, second generation. What's next? Where are we going?
That's a great question.
Where are we going, boss?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. So we do, like I said, I run the day to day. When I say I mean, that's not even a fair statement. That we have myself, Elliott, and then the other gentleman, Kedge. Right. We have a great team. We have very different personalities. Three of us, so it really meshes well. Right. But for us, I would say the next steps. We talked about the Hydro Force. We do have another location that we're going to be closing on here in the next few weeks in Bedford. We want to go south. We really love south. The Bloomington, the Ellettsville, the Bedford. But for us, it's to continue those projects, and it's just we want to keep sharpening, what we're doing. We don't think what we do is good enough, and we want to make it better. And we're constantly tweaking it and changing it and getting feedback from not just our customers, our employees. And we hold each other to a high standard, right? Especially the leadership team. We're constantly seeing, hey, can we do this better? What are other people doing that are working? Yeah. So, when it comes to what we're doing in the future, it's really just kind of continuing what we're already doing.
What you built,
with an emphasis always on growth.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we're doing a lot of cool things. Keaton mentioned the second location we're opening in Bedford. We're going to make a really big effort to recruit for that. Yep. For sure. And the other thing that's really neat and is different than other companies, I'd say our size, is that we partnered with a coaching company to help us really build like this 6-month service essentials course that we teach in-house to every new hire. So anyone who works at the company, even leadership, staff. So if you're not even out in the field, you still go through this course.
Right.
It teaches you how to run a service call, literally from the moment that you get in your truck to head to the customer, where you park, how you knock on the door, the things you say. If they say this, how can you respond? So we're really using this course to invest back into our employees to help them, gain, personal and professional skills, communication skills, and time management skills. And we're really excited to roll that out and to, start training our guys.
That's good stuff. Hudson Plumbing, Martinsville, Indiana. You're also in Bloomington, Indiana. And am I missing any other counties?
Well, some of the bigger areas we service: Franklin, Bedford, Greenwood, Bloomington.
What's the website?
TrustYourPlumber.com.
Good stuff. And phone number?
765-349-0900.